going to be talking about the cloud, and I guess I'm going to start off explaining what the cloud is, and then I guess breaking it down, because it's one of these words that's like Web 2.0. You know,
yeah,
no one really knows what it means, but it means something, and that sort of stuff. So, I guess we know what the cloud is more than Joe Public, because we use it every day, so like Dropbox, etc. But even with that, there's a differentiator, because that's sort of cloud storage in one aspect, and what I'm going to be concentrating on is the cloud is in sort of getting all of your architecture up there. So where it comes from is after the .com boom, sort of, when was that? Early 2000s. Yeah. The companies that survived, the big ones like Yahoo, Amazon, etc., they all had to look at their costs, and one of the big things was like redundant sort of system cycle. So you've got a box sitting there, and yeah, when Japan wakes up and they start using, you know, Amazon.jp, the server's off and running, but the rest of the time it's sitting there doing nothing. So as a sort of cost-saving measure, they went through the entire company and they said, okay, we'll reduce the packaging, this, that, and everything. And they looked at their server cycles and they realised actually what they could do is sort of batch process a lot of stuff from one country on another country's server, whilst that country wasn't using it, so they were getting the full use of the resources. And then alongside that, there was this concept of virtualization that was emerging as well. So you'd have a server rack, and rather than having like literally 3 boxes, you'd have one box that would have 3 different servers on it. And that's even sort of Windows, Linux, you know, Mac OS running on the same hardware, but sort of abstracted enough that they all felt like they were their own system. And I guess basically that is what, when we talk about cloud, that is what your architecture is. You virtualize it and you put it onto a machine that you know, your host operating system's running on it, but the machine, I guess, what am I trying to say here? It doesn't matter where the machine is. You can pull the operating system off, put it somewhere else, and it adapts to its hardware. So what that means is that in the cloud, that the hardware is infinitely expandable, and the number of instances of operating systems that you can run on the cloud is also infinite. It's just dependent on the hardware, but you can always put in more RAM, more servers. And in reality, what you do have is a massive server room that, you know, your instance is, or your sort of virtualized instance is running alongside other people. So for us, it's easier to sort of explain, because with our VDS, we know that, for example, one of our clients is on there, and there's another one on there as well. But to them, they think that's their server and that's where their website is. It's exactly the same with the cloud. You're just sitting on a box with a load of other people. You can have it so that you've got your own piece of hardware as well, and that is basically infinitely expandable as well. But obviously, you pay more for that. So the big players in the cloud at the moment, Rackspace do it, Amazon are the people who pioneer it, and alongside that, Ubuntu's got in. So Conical are basically I think it's since 10 point, the last couple of iterations, they've had this thing where you can literally take an Ubuntu server, compress it down, turn it into an image, throw it up on the cloud. If you don't want to use it on Amazon, you know, in a month's time, you can take it back down and put it somewhere else. They've tried to make it portable, and they're one of the real sort of first OS manufacturers that have really cottoned onto that. It's that, you know, you install it once, but you put it over wherever you want it. Whereas, you know, if you've got Windows box, you install it on that machine, it's pretty much stuck on that machine. Yeah, you can pull it off, but it's sort of on there. I guess, and in terms of Amazon, we've obviously just done it for one of our clients here, and the process with that is, I guess I'll run through what you need to do. So Amazon have got their own terminology, which is really confusing as well. But essentially, you say that you want to run a machine, and you select the size of the machine. So that comes down to, you get micro, small, large, extra large. There's another series of them that've got more memory and stuff. So you're basically picking the architecture you want to put it on. Then the next stage is to say what what it is you want to run on there. So you can run databases, you know, any flavour of Linux you want. You can put on Windows as well. And the way those are added on, there's this thing called an AMI, which is basically an Amazon machine image, and that is basically an ISO. It's just they mess around with it to get it to work on their infrastructure. And the main thing they do is, a part of the setup process, you have to set up a key pair for security reasons. And what they do is they put it into your .ssh file. That's the key. So you're the only person you can log in. You set the instance up. The instance runs, and there's a control panel. It's called AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. And then in that control panel, you have an overview, so you can start, stop, remove. You can snapshot. You have full control over it. And so basically what you're doing is, and in the case of what we did for Gemster, is we picked an Ubuntu AMI, a fresh one. We launched it in the instance. The keys were in there. It gives you an IP address. You literally putty in or SSH in. You're in. It's a fresh box. And then, you know, first thing you do is you put a LAMP stack on it. Then you get Git on it. You pull down your repositories. You set them all up like normal. You've got the IP address. You go to your browser. You punch it in, and you can see, you know, your website's up and running. It's literally as easy as that.